I threw a birthday party to save my marriage, then caught my wife kissing my dad. She waited until my mom left the room to kiss him, my father, her father-in-law, in our kitchen 10 feet from where guests were still singing for me. Hi, I'm Jake, 32, and last month my life blew up when I saw my wife kissing my dad in our kitchen, at my birthday party. Yeah. Let that sink in for a second. There's no gentle way to say it, and I don't do soft openings anymore. I do truth. And the truth is, I caught my wife, making out with my father like it was a scene out of a low-budget soap opera while my mom sang, "Happy Birthday," 10 feet away holding a tray of cupcakes. It all started, ironically, because I was trying to be a good husband. We'd been going through a rough patch. Lila and I had been married 5 years. No kids, decent jobs, shared Spotify playlists, the whole middle-class millennial starter pack. She's a nurse. I'm an IT. We met at a CPR class, flirted over compressions, got engaged after a year, and everyone said we were couple goals. But lately, she'd been distant. Cold. Checking her phone constantly. Laughing at texts she wouldn't let me see. The usual flags we all ignore until they hit us in the face. Still, I thought, maybe she's just stressed. Maybe it's work. Maybe I'm being paranoid. So I decided to go big for my birthday. Not for me. For us. To feel like a team again. I planned a cookout at our house. Nothing fancy, just family and close friends, burgers, beer, lawn games. I even cleaned the grill. That's how committed I was. She was acting weird the whole day. Kept asking what time my dad was coming. Not in a casual, "Oh, I hope your dad makes it" way, but more like she was counting down. I chalked it up to her trying to be a good daughter-in-law. Dumb. Naive. Classic Jake. Anyway, the party starts. My mom arrives first, wearing a blouse she definitely bought just for the occasion, and carrying a bowl of her famous potato salad. My best friend Micah shows up with a 6-pack and immediately tries to light something on fire. Everyone's laughing. It's a good time. Dad shows up last. Late, as usual, with that signature mix of charisma and cologne that always made him the favorite at any party. He's 58 but looks 10 years younger, thanks to Botox and ego. A former car salesman turned motivational speaker who has never met a mirror he didn't like. He hugs my mom like she's an old friend instead of his wife of 35 years. Then he hugs Lila, and it lingers a little too long. I see it. That strange energy. But I tell myself I'm imagining things. That's what your brain does, right? It tries to protect you. The rest of the party goes by in a blur. Lila laughing too hard at Dad's jokes. Him showing her something on his phone, their heads too close. Me, watching from the sidelines like a chump at his own party. Then, around 7:30, my mom says, "I need candles for the cupcakes," and goes to the garage. Lila says, "I'll help," but detours to the kitchen. 5 minutes go by. Then 10. I go inside to find them. And that's when I see it, Lila and my dad, in my kitchen, her hands in his hair, his arms around her waist, kissing like they forgot where they were. They don't even hear me come in. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just stood there. Frozen. Birthday hat still on my head like a damn idiot. Lila's eyes met mine first. She gasped. My dad turned, face blank for half a second before morphing into fake regret. I remember thinking, he's done this before. He's rehearsed this. "Jake," Lila started, voice trembling. I walked out. Just walked straight through the backyard, past my confused guests, past the grill, past my mom still searching for candles in the garage. I got in my car and drove. No shoes. No wallet. Just keys, heartbreak, and the sound of my own breath screaming in my ears. And I didn't come home for 3 days. I didn't sleep much that first night. I ended up at a cheap motel off Route 9, the kind with buzzing lights and scratchy towels. The guy at the front desk looked at me like I just escaped from a wedding gone wrong, still in my party shirt, frosting on my sleeve, no luggage, no shoes. "Rough night?" he asked. "You could say that." I spent the next 72 hours trying not to throw my phone into a river. Lila called. 22 times. My mom called. Micah texted, "What the hell happened?" "Your dad left early and Lila's crying in the bathroom." I ignored them all. The first message I listened to was from my dad. It came in around 2 a.m. that first night. "Jake, I know what you saw looked bad. It was bad. But it's more complicated than you think. Call me. Please. More complicated than watching your father make out with your wife? No. No, I don't think it is. On day 3, I finally drove back to the house. Not because I was ready to face anything, I just needed socks. An Advil. The moment I pulled into the driveway, Lila was at the door. Hair in a bun. Puffy eyes. Wearing my college hoodie like she thought nostalgia might soften the blow. Jake, she said, voice cracking. Can we talk? No. I made coffee. I don't want coffee, Lila. I want a time machine. She flinched, but followed me inside. I ignored her. Walked straight to the bedroom. The house smelled like stale cupcakes and betrayal. I packed a duffel bag with enough clothes for a week. When I came back into the hallway, she was still standing there like a ghost of good decisions past. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said. Which part? The kiss? Or the entire affair? Her face changed. A flicker of guilt twisted into defiance. It wasn't an affair. It was a mistake. A mistake that's been happening how long? Silence. That was my answer. I laughed. I actually laughed. You couldn't have just joined a spin class or adopted a dog like other bored spouses? Lila didn't speak. Just stood there, arms crossed now, shifting into the defensive posture I knew too well. He listened to me, she said finally. He made me feel seen. Oh. I nodded. Right. Of course. Because that's what every woman wants. To feel seen by a man who's old enough to remember the moon landing. Jake. Don't. Just don't. I left. But not before grabbing the wedding photo off the mantel and chucking it into the sink. Later that week, I met with my mom. I picked a cafe 2 towns over. Neutral territory. Public enough that she couldn't throw a wine glass at me if this went south. She looked tired. Pale. Her hands trembled around her coffee cup. He told me everything, she said quietly. I braced. And I'm divorcing him. I blinked. What? I found the text, Jake. From months ago. It wasn't just Lila. There were others. Lots of others. He's been cheating on me since before your wedding. Probably longer. The words hit me like a truck. I felt stupid for being surprised. But Lila. She was the final straw. We sat in silence for a while, sipping coffee either of us wanted. Finally, she reached into her purse and handed me something. It was a printed email. From Lila. To my dad. Dated 6 weeks before the party. I skimmed it. My stomach dropped. Can't wait until he finds out. Maybe then we can stop sneaking around. You always said he was too soft anyway. Maybe now he'll finally grow up. Grow up. Grow up. The woman I loved thought I was soft. And the man I looked up to, the man who raised me, agreed. That was the moment something shifted. I wasn't going to run anymore. I wasn't going to cry in motels or mope around like a sad, betrayed golden retriever. If they wanted war, they'd get war. I texted Micah that night, I need a favor. And a camera. Micah didn't ask questions. He showed up at my apartment the next morning with a camera bag, a GoPro, and a look on his face that said, finally. Revenge plot season. So, he said, dropping everything on my kitchen table. You want to film a murder or a documentary? Neither. I want to film the truth. He cracked his knuckles. Love that. Very noble. Also very vague. I laid it out for him. I was done playing the devastated husband. It was time to let Lila and my dad destroy themselves. I just needed to give them the rope. You're going to bait them, Micah said. Exactly. Because here's what I knew, cheaters get sloppy when they think the danger's past. And Lila and my father? They thought they'd already won. That I'd quietly fade out, leave the house, and let them carry on guilt-free. Maybe even convince my family I was the problem. Nope. They wanted chaos? Fine. But it was going to be controlled chaos. My chaos. First, I moved back into the house. Told Lila I'd hired a lawyer and wasn't leaving until the divorce was finalized. She tried to protest. It's not healthy to stay under the same roof. You should have thought about that before necking my dad next to the toaster. She slept in the guest room. I didn't sleep at all. Next, I rigged the house. GoPro in the living room. Micah helped me set up a hidden camera in the kitchen light fixture. Another one facing the front door. All synced to my laptop. All running motion-activated recordings. I didn't know what I was looking for yet. Just had a hunch. Turns out my hunch was right. On day 4, I got what I needed. It was late. I'd gone out under the guise of seeing my lawyer. Really, I parked down the street and waited. An hour later, he showed up. My father. With wine. Walked right in with his spare key like he still lived there. Like this was a damn Hallmark movie. I watched the live feed on my phone. My stomach did cartwheels I didn't ask for. Lila met him at the door. She looked nervous. He looked smug. Is he home? No. Went to see the lawyer again. Good. You've been okay? Not really. He's being impossible. Cold. Quiet. Sounds like him. They sat on the couch. I watched in real time as my father put his arm around my wife. Ex-wife in progress. Whatever. Then he kissed her. I hit record. Micah was watching with me in the car. This is like the Jerry Springer Show, director's cut. He muttered. Sure. Then Lila said the thing that sealed it. I can't wait until this is over. Once the divorce is final, we can go public. Start fresh. And my dad? He laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, baby, he said. You think I'm leaving your mom for you? Micah choked on his energy drink. Lila froze on screen. What? Let's be realistic. I'm 60 years old. I've got a career, a reputation. You're a fun distraction, not a new life. Silence. Dead silence. And then the slap. Lila slapped him so hard, his head jerked sideways on the couch. You're disgusting. She hissed. He stood up, red-faced. You knew what this was. Don't go full victim now. And just like that, he left. I let the video roll for another hour as Lila sat there on the couch, crumpled, stunned, unraveling. I'd never felt so clear-headed in my life. Holy crap. Micah whispered. I know. You're gonna send that to your mom, right? I smiled. No. I'm going to send it to everyone. Before we continue, please like, comment on how we can improve the content, and subscribe to the channel. Your support is very important to me. By sunrise, I had a plan. A vindictive, fully caffeinated, emotionally therapeutic plan. Step 1. Send the video to my mom. I almost didn't. It felt cruel. But then I remembered the years she spent defending my dad's harmless flirtations. The birthday card signed love, all of us that he never read before she mailed. The way her face collapsed when she told me about the others. She deserved the truth. So I wrote a short email, no dramatic subject line, no guilt trip monologue, just, Mom, you need to see this. I'm sorry. Love. Jake. I attached the video and hit send. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From relief. Step 2. Send it to his colleagues. You see, my dad's whole business, Peak Potential Seminars, was built on branding. He's one of those self-made men who preaches about integrity and the power of choices in rented conference rooms at the Marriott. Guess what motivational speakers don't survive? Getting caught on video saying, "You're a fun distraction." Micah helped me make a highlight reel. 30 seconds. No edits, no voiceover, just the kiss, the wine, the public plan to go official, the laugh, the slap, the you knew what this was. Clean. Simple. Career ending. I made a dummy Gmail account and sent it to every company listed on his past clients page. Fortune 500 firms. HR departments. LinkedIn connections. Even the admin of his cheesy YouTube channel. No message. No context. Just the truth in motion. Step 3. Lila. I waited until she left for work, then printed the screenshots. Her emails to my dad, the footage stills, the transcript Micah typed out. I left them in a neat stack on the kitchen table with a sticky note. For your lawyer. No need to lie in court. Love, Jake. I wasn't trying to win. I just wanted her to know I saw it all. And then came step 4. The final boss level, the family group chat. Yes. We have one. And yes, it is cursed. It's mostly cousins sharing blurry photos of toddlers eating waffles and unhinged Bible verses from my Aunt Rhonda. I hadn't posted in months. Until now. I dropped one screenshot. Just one. Lila and my dad mid-kiss in our kitchen. My kitchen. Then I added a single message. Happy birthday to me. Smiley face. I muted the thread immediately. I didn't need to watch it explode in real time. I just needed the mushroom cloud to exist. 3 hours later, my phone buzzed. It was my mom. No text. Just a call. I answered. She didn't speak right away. I could hear her breathing. Then, finally, thank you? For what? For not protecting him. For showing me. I swallowed the lump in my throat. You okay? No. But I will be. She hung up. 10 minutes later, I got a notification that my dad's company website had gone offline. 15 after that, his LinkedIn profile vanished. Micah texted, "You turned him into vapor, bro, digital dust." Then came the phone call I wasn't expecting. Lila. I almost didn't answer. But I was curious. She sounded destroyed. Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been screaming or crying or both. "What did you do?" she whispered. Held up a mirror. "You ruined everything." "No," I said. "You ruined everything." I just pressed play. She hung up. I stared at the ceiling, wondering what step 5 was. There wasn't one. I'd done it. Burned it down. All of it. The marriage. The lies. The carefully constructed myths about my father being a good man. Gone. And in the ashes, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness exactly. But something like peace. The fallout was biblical. By noon, my aunt had left 5 voicemails ranging from, "Jake, call me back right now," to, "This is tearing our family apart." Which, fair. But I wasn't the one who French kissed that family apart like a walking midlife crisis in Sperry's. The cousins were mostly on my side. A few sent texts like, "Bro, I would have paid money to be in that group chat when you dropped the bomb. If you ever start a revenge consulting firm, I'm in. You broke Rhonda. She's been sending psalms like rapid fire." Even Uncle Dean, my dad's own brother, messaged me a gif of a man slow clapping and the words, "Long overdue." I didn't respond to most of them. Because I was waiting. Waiting for him. And like clockwork, around 4 p.m., the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. There he was. Wearing a blazer like this was a TED Talk, not a groveling session. I opened the door but didn't step aside. "Jake," he said. Like we were friends. "I see the motivational speaking gig's going well." He tried to smile. It didn't land. "I think we should talk." "Do you now?" He sighed. "Look, I messed up. I'm not proud of what happened." "Which part? The kissing? The emails? The fun distraction line?" He flinched. "That was taken out of context." I leaned against the doorframe. "Cool. Which context were you in where it's okay to say that about your son's wife?" He didn't answer. Just looked tired. Pathetic even. "You've ruined my marriage," I said. "You've humiliated my mother. And you killed your career with your own damn mouth. So what is it you want, Dad? Closure? Forgiveness? A do-over?" He ran a hand through his hair, suddenly less polished. "I want to make things right. You want to make you look right. There's a difference. I'm still your father." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You used to be." He stared at me, something breaking in his eyes. Then he nodded, took a step back, and walked away. I closed the door. Micah, who'd been sitting on my couch eating popcorn like this was a live finale, said, "Dude, you didn't even flinch. That was ice cold. I've got nothing left to flinch with." That night, Lila packed up the rest of her stuff and officially moved out. No speech. No apology. Just silence and a box labeled, "Kitchen, not betrayal." She paused in the hallway on her way out. "You didn't have to burn it all down." I looked at her. "You shouldn't have handed me the matches." She left. The house felt too quiet afterward. A few days later, my mom called again. This time, to ask if I'd come to dinner. "I'm making lasagna," she said. "And Micah. Bring him. He earned it." So I did. We sat around the table like survivors of a shipwreck. Me, Mom, Micah, a bottle of wine that tasted better than usual. We laughed. We clinked glasses. We talked about literally anything but Lila or Dad. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like the world was ending. At one point, Mom said softly, "You know, I was scared you'd turn into him." "Why?" "Because pain makes people selfish. And angry. And cruel. And you had every reason to become all three. But you didn't. Micah raised a glass. Nope. He just became righteously savage. We toasted to that. Then Micah, mouth full of garlic bread, said, So what now, man? What's the next chapter? I didn't know yet. But I knew I wasn't done. There was still one person I hadn't spoken to, someone who used to know my dad better than anyone. His old business partner. And rumor had it, that guy hated my father's guts. The thing about revenge is, once you get a taste, a real taste, it doesn't satisfy you. It sharpens you. Wakes up something in your gut that starts whispering, what else don't they expect? Enter Cliff Hargrove. My dad's ex-business partner. Former co-founder of Peak Potential Seminars. Bald. Built like a fridge. Got ousted 5 years ago after what my dad claimed was a philosophical disagreement. Translation: Dad screwed him out of the company, rewrote the entire brand around himself, and cut Cliff out of the profits like he was moldy cheese. Cliff had been quiet since. Moved to North Carolina. Opened a gym. But I'd always wondered what really went down. So I sent him an email. Hi Cliff. My name's Jake. I'm James Lockhart's son. I think we might have some things to talk about. Do you do Zoom? He replied within 2 hours. Do I do Zoom? For this? Hell yes. We set it for the next day. 7 p.m. Micah came over with 2 coffees, a smug grin, and a notepad labeled Ruin Plan Phase 2. Cliff appeared on screen exactly on time. Black t-shirt, no smile. He looked like a bouncer for a motivational speaker mafia. Jake, he said. You look just like your mom. Lucky break. Thanks. I think. I saw the video, by the way. Nice form. Elegant destruction. Appreciate that. He sipped from a mug shaped like a kettlebell. So what do you want from me? Information. About? My dad. What he did to you. Why you walked. Cliff set down his mug and leaned forward. All right. Strap in. And then he talked. For nearly an hour, he told me everything. How my dad used Cliff's credit to launch the company. How he lied about early sales numbers to investors. How he slept with one of Cliff's clients, a woman who later accused my dad of manipulating her into spending 10 grand on relationship coaching. Your father doesn't coach people, Cliff said flatly. He manipulates them. He finds weak spots, pokes them, sells a band-aid, and then blames them when they bleed again. Jesus. And I took the fall, he continued. Because he had the charisma and I had the receipts, and the receipts made me look bitter. You know how it goes. Charming liar wins. I sat back, reeling. Why didn't you say anything? Tried. Nobody listened. Then I got tired. So I left. Started over. You ever think about taking him down? Cliff raised an eyebrow. Every day. You ever think about doing it together? Micah dropped his pen so hard it clattered across the table. You're serious? I said. Dead serious. Cliff replied. I've got tax documents, ghostwritten speeches, invoices for events he never showed up to but still billed. And emails. Oh, the emails. He pulled up a folder on screen. Dozens of files. Labeled and time-stamped. Micah whispered. It's like Christmas came early. I've been waiting for the right moment. Cliff said. But after that video? It's clear the world's ready to hear the real story. What do you need from me? I asked. Just the green light. I'll do the heavy lifting. We can pitch it to reporters, put together a file for the IRS, maybe even launch a podcast. People eat this stuff up. And best part? You stay anonymous. Let me take the hits. I sat there for a long second, staring at my dad's legacy sitting in neatly organized folders like a piñata about to burst. You sure? I asked. You're okay dragging this all back up? Cliff smiled for the first time. It wasn't warm. I've been waiting 5 years for the right crowbar. Micah let out a low whistle. Jake. You have to do this. I nodded. All right. I said. Let's finish what we started. Cliff leaned back, satisfied. Good man. I'll be in touch. We ended the call. Micah turned to me, eyes wide. So what now? Now I wait. Now we build the bonfire. Now we torch the legend of James Lockhart, one email at a time. 2 months later, the first article dropped. Motivational speaker James Lockhart accused of fraud, emotional manipulation, and falsified income reports. It was a long read. Pulitzer bait, if I'm honest. The journalist, a woman named Alina who wore sarcasm like armor, went deep. She had quotes from Cliff, screenshots of emails, audio clips from seminars where my dad contradicted his own teachings, a photo of his old promotional billboard next to the words, "Is your guru gaslighting you?" I didn't say a word publicly. Neither did Micah. Or Cliff. We let it speak for itself. But the court of public opinion? Absolutely savage. My dad's social media imploded. His followers started calling him a scam artist. Clients dropped him. A conference center canceled his upcoming seminar. The Facebook page for peak potential seminars went dark within a week. And the podcast? Oh, yeah? We did the podcast. Cliff and I recorded 6 episodes. Each one told a different story of how my dad used charm and charisma as cover for manipulation, greed, and betrayal. The final episode? Titled, My Father the Fraud. I told my story, the birthday, the kiss, the aftermath. I used a voice modulator at first, but listeners figured it out. My name leaked. And you know what? I didn't care. Because the response was overwhelming. Messages poured in. Your story gave me the courage to leave a toxic marriage. I worked for your dad. He was exactly like you described. Thank you. I wish someone had exposed him sooner. But I'm glad someone finally did. Even my mom started getting messages. Support. Solidarity. Strangers thanking her for surviving it all with grace. Lila? She moved in with her sister 2 towns over. I know this because she emailed me, once, to say she'd started therapy, and that she hoped someday I'd see that what happened between us wasn't personal. I didn't reply. Because of course it was personal. She lit a match inside my life and thought she could walk away before the explosion. But fire doesn't care about timing. It burns what it touches. Micah and I celebrated the podcast hitting 100,000 streams with tequila and tacos. He raised a glass to me. To scorched earth. I laughed. To new growth. My dad. Last I heard, he was living in a condo in Arizona, trying to rebrand under a new name. J. Lark. Not joking. He started a YouTube channel. 8 subscribers, mostly bots. Every video gets ratioed to oblivion. Comments are brutal. Someone edited the fun distraction clip into a remix with trap beats. Over 2 million views. Poetic justice lives on the internet, baby. As for me? I started hiking again. Volunteered at a literacy program. Took a pottery class. I suck at it, but it's meditative. I'm not dating, not seriously, but I did meet someone interesting at a trivia night. We're taking it slow. No secrets. No surprises. I even talk to my mom regularly now. Real talks. About boundaries. About family. About what we'll do next year for my birthday. Hint, not a cookout. And Cliff? He's thriving. Writing a book. Thinking of running for city council. Still calls me every few weeks with updates. We have a weird friendship, built on shared trauma and mutual loathing of one man. But it works. Sometimes I think about that moment in the kitchen, the kiss, the betrayal, the shattering of the life I thought I had. And I don't feel anger anymore. I feel awake. Because pain has a way of turning you into either a victim or a weapon. And I chose neither. I became the match. And I watched the lies burn. Now I'm just a man rebuilding with fireproof hands. And that feels like freedom.